I'm super pumped today. I have a legend in the room that I've been trying to get in here for a little bit, John Taylor. We're just going to kind of rap today a little bit about you and kind of
Okay.
who you are and what you've done and where you're at. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. Just, what's going on, who you are, who are you, etc.
So I'm John Taylor, born and raised here in Las Vegas, Green Valley area. In the Green Valley High School, mid high school, they transferred me to Del Sol, so I was the first class at Del Sol. I was actually the first student body president over there.
Look at you.
First graduating class over there. Played soccer, played golf, served a 2-year mission, Mormon mission. Out in Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, came back, went to school up at BYU. Didn't really know what I wanted to do for school, but at BYU, they're really known for their accounting program. It's like really hard to get into. It's the top 4 in the nation. And so I go, well, since I don't know what to do, I'll just choose the hardest. And that's what I did. Got really good there, graduated with really good grades. But while I was going to school, I was married at the time, newly married, living on like $1,200 a month. And then went out. At the time, really was just working, doing like a call center for my basement type thing. And one of my neighbors, I went to borrow like a cup of sugar, saw like a check on his desk, and it was for like $100,000. I was like, holy cow, you live in the shithole that I do. Like, what did you do? Like, I want to know. Told me he went and sold alarms for a company called APX at the time, and I just made a conscious decision right then and there. Because he's like, I'm like, you made that much this year? He goes, no, that was just this summer. That's my bonus check at the end of the year. I'm like, holy shit, that if that is real, like, I don't care what I have to do, I'm gonna go do it. And so that's what I did. I kind of recruited myself into the industry. Going door to door space was really just kind of like a means to pay for college. I was average or below average my first year. I wasn't like a one-hit wonder that out the gate. Came back. I only made like 30 grand my first summer in 4 months, and I was pissed. And I was like, I'm not going to do it because I had in my head, he made 100, I didn't make 100. I suck. Maybe I should move on. But then I sat back and talked with my boss at the time, and he was like, what are you talking about? You're making $1,200 a month. You made 35 in 4 months. And then I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to do it again. Next year I did it again, made 70. Next year 140, all in summers. And then next year 300. And then I started realizing, like, oh, wow, I did that in 4 months. What if I work 12 months? I could make a whole lot more, and eventually moved here to Vegas instead of just go out for the summers. And while I was here starting a year-round program with Vivint, I got into executive education at Harvard, went and did that. It's their equivalent of like an executive MBA, and ever since then, just been booming.
So do you think that's funny? I listen. I'm even a novice to Vivint. It's funny every time I talk to everyone in the door-to-door world, because I've only ever sold storm restoration roofing. About like how I didn't even know who Vivint was until I talked to Jeremy like 4 months ago. So it's cool for me because I'm learning a lot. Just talking to you guys, especially because you guys are all vets. So I think it's severely ironic how many legendary door knockers come out of Utah, obviously because you guys it's a strong Mormon community. Not that you're from there, you're from here, but you're used to rejection, right?
Well, it helps, but I also just think they've mastered and bottled up a training platform that's accelerated people faster than other ones. So before even Vivint, I did cars, I sold cars. No other training was I given like I was here, but even all training at a company is not the same. I originally, my mentor, his name's Jeff Mendez, a legend in the industry. When I first was working at Vivint at the time, I was working in a different group, got a whole different, not as good training. And when I kind of became a free agent because that manager moved on to other opportunities, I was able to choose my leader. I chose the best, Jeff, and for like 10 years was tutored by him and his style. So so even you could be with a great company, but if you're not with great managers, you might not get the same experience as somebody else either.
Yeah, like a great leader for sure.
Yeah, and so like basically they came from a platform, and it wasn't just how to sell, how to retain, how to recruit, how to lead, how to inspire, how to motivate, how to be an entrepreneur. It was a whole like package that they delivered to me in that experience.
Okay. So obviously, like, you went to the BYU thing's interesting. I didn't know that about you, so that's cool. Your mission. How was the mission, man? I'm always curious. My girlfriend's dad did a mission in Japan, so I'm always curious, like, how did that help you in your life and choosing where you wanted to go? And
So I'll talk like a secular, and then there's a religious side too. So on the secular side, it's like, you graduate college. Most kids 18 years old don't know what they're wanting to go into. And so they waste kind of like their 18, 20s, and then by the time they're 20, now they have to choose a career path, or like an emphasis in college, and they don't even know life yet. They just graduated. So the benefit was it put my life on hold for 2 years. And on the mission, I learned certain skill sets such as planning, routine, memorization, talking with people, rejection, a whole lot of things that made me more prepared for college. Interesting fact, most people don't know this, is I actually did summer classes at CSN before my mission. I like flunked them. And then I come back from my mission, go to BYU, and I actually didn't transfer my credits. So I just kind of left those hanging. Um, but then I came back and I was a different person. I knew how to plan. I knew how to study. I knew what I wanted to go into a little bit more. And so I also would then take that another set, like extrapolate from that. A lot of people don't excel largely due they don't know what they want to do. So having a 2 year pause really helped me, I think. Now, on the other side, it also helped me in other areas. It made me more, I could handle rejection. It was a numbers game. You have a little bit more hope in the sense of you were so used to going with nothing, and then when you finally get something, it's different. So,
right.
And then also the other benefit is it taught me how to live on nothing. So I came from a middle class family. We weren't rich, we weren't poor. We did the annual family vacation, but like on your mission, they pay for your housing, but then you get $100 a month for food and groceries and everything else. So I learned to live on like nothing. And so that also, I think, gives me a benefit because I'm not as scared to lose everything and start over, which a lot of people might. But I could live on Totino's pizzas and $100 a month if I had to, because I've done it before.
Yeah, a little bit of top ramen and
Yes.
anything other short.
Yes.
Like, give me a blanket and some top ramen and I'm a wrap.
Yes.
So, I mean, you see a guy, you come home, you see a guy's check on the counter. We're young, we always like money, right? You see a dude's making this much money during the summer. You choose door to door. What was APX? Was APX before Vivint?
APX was Vivint. It was the original name, and then in 2000, the year I came on, the first year I worked, it was APX, and then my second year, mid-year, they rebranded the company. They wanted to move from the alarm space into the whole smart home space. And about that time, once they rebranded Vivint, they also started a sister company, Vivint Solar. And so at the time, that also gave me, even though I've been fully on alarms with Vivint Smart Home, through friends and also the relation of a sister company, was able to watch the solar business grow pretty much from scratch. It's been around forever. It really got accelerated with Solar City, making it a little bit more mainstream. And then Vivint Solar pioneered the door-to-door game for solar, selling direct to consumer back in like 2010, 11, really 12. 12, Blackstone bought both companies and then accelerated from there. And so a lot of even the PPA world came because Vivint alarm reps were so used to selling alarms based on customer. You pass credit, you don't pay for any equipment, hardware, nothing. You just pay your monthly bill. You get free equipment, kind of like the old cell phones. You get the free cell phones if you sign up for a plan. And so PPA was largely also created to help guys who are used to selling. You get free, just pay, whatever.
Yeah, no money up front.
And so we watched that, and then we saw PPAs accelerated through the years, and then really on the solar side, I didn't really get too involved until loans. And when loans outside of California, Jersey, that's when like commissions started going crazy.
The same in the sense of
on alarms. On solar.
Yeah.
And alarms is experiencing the same thing. Like back in the day, commissions were very small. As soon as we switched to this consumer financing, where the consumer, just like cell phones, you buy your iPhone now, you pay payment still, but AT&T doesn't give it to you for free. When they switched to that model, their profits went up. When we on the alarm side switched to that model, our profits went up. When solar switched to that with loans, profits went up.
So what year did you get with APX?
2009.
And you were 21?
20, just barely turned 22.
22. So when you started with APX, Vivint buys APX. What you just
No, Vivint was APX.
Okay,
They just rebranded.
They rebranded to
yes.
rebranded to Vivint. You were a door knocker. Mm-hmm. You were
started
pounding the pavement,
getting dropped off. Like, and I honestly, like I said, I was like,
that.
no, I was like scared to death. There were times where like I actually had been rejected so many times. I thought I was like, you mentioned mission. I thought I wasn't prepared. I get dropped. My first day, I ended up selling 2 my first day, like, rookie, green power, whatever. But as it went on, it started wearing on me where I'd get dropped off. I still remember one time I went and like found an abandoned gas station and hid during the rain, or like during the day, because I didn't want my manager to see me and I just didn't want to work. Like, I didn't want to take the rejection anymore. So like all the stuff, people see us like 12 years later where like nothing can knock us down. But they don't understand that I went through the exact same things you did, and maybe I was a bigger pussy than you were, or they were, or that person was. But like they don't see that now. Like, you can see a picture of me before and a picture of me and know, hey, there's a big difference. But people don't think that I had to go through what they went through. I was once a baby too. I had to learn to walk, run, everything else.
Right.
We all did it.
Right.
But they don't see it. They just see the end result, and they want to microwave themselves there. And you can't microwave success.
So okay, that's pretty cool. So you started off knocking in Salt Lake.
No, I was going to school at BYU.
Yeah.
I got recruited. My first summer was in Iowa. Iowa. Like, nothing crazy. It wasn't even the greatest alarm market.
So real quick, let me interrupt there. So for a lot, I know a lot of people don't really understand this. So when you think about a door knock, you think guys selling meat, selling knives, selling whatever. Vivint seems to be a little bit of a different animal. So you guys, what's the deal with these summer
Yes,
runs?
no,
Like,
so the idea
the
idea is this. The pitch, you go find college students. I was a college student at the time. The pitch is this. Here's the deal. I don't come from a rich family. You don't come from a rich family. Mom and dad's trust fund's not paying for your college. But if you come work for us and bust your ass for 4 months, you can make enough money to where you can focus on school and not have to work and have the same privileges. And it's hard to get A's when your trust fund friend doesn't have to work when you do. It's hard to compete, but now you can compete at the same level. You don't have to work all year. You just work 4 months. So that was the pitch. A lot of college students go out, and we do exactly that. We go earn all of our money for the year in 4 months, then go focus on school. Now, what's interesting, though, is then eventually for me and most people who do multiple years of this, by the time you graduate, your degree, you can't get a job for as much as you're currently making. That's what happened with me. I graduated college. I was making $350 a year. What am I going to do? Go get a starting?
Was that $350 just during the summer?
Just during the summer. Yeah.
Now, what's a summer? Summer's a June to August, or
Summer is based more on Utah. It depends on the school that graduates, but since 80% of the recruits come from Utah because they were based for the summer model, our schools got out mid-April, and it didn't start again until end of August. So it's essentially mid-April to August. 4.5 months.
So what's like, I've been hearing this, there's a thing in solar, which I'm sure you're familiar with, like the golden door. There's, in pest control, you sell 1,000 jobs a year, you're an animal. What's like a good, like if you're above, like when you first started, how many alarms did you sell the first summer?
So average first year guy would sell 50 accounts, and they're anticipating to make 20 grand. If you finished the summer, didn't make 20 grand in the summer, you probably didn't work the hours. If you just work the hours, you're going to do it. So a lot of like kids who ever come home or tell mom I had a bad experience, it's bullshit. You were like me. You sat on the curb, you cried, and you didn't finish. Like that's the truth. That's the truth. And so you could try to say, hey, mom, it's not for me. The reality is, mom, I'm just a shitty worker. That's like hands down. If you work the hours, you will do it. And I have to like hit that because sometimes like kids who are soft will give an impression that somehow it was the company or them, because they don't take accountability that, no, mom and dad, I just suck at working. Like, it's easier to say, whoa, it's Todd Peterson or it's Vivint's fault. Like, but that's just not the case.
Right.
If you didn't work, you didn't get paid. That's our industry. So like 50 accounts, 20. That would be an average first year. I did about 75 accounts. So that was like 35 grand at the time. And then the next year in personal sales, I didn't build a team my second year. I just was better. And so I did 70,000. I sold about 100 accounts in those 4 months. The third year I started to manage a little bit, assistant manage, let's say.
So what does that mean? So you go from a knocker, you knock a couple years, you realize you can do it. They send you out to places. What does what does the managing actually mean?
No, so and that's the difference. Is a lot of people think because we'll talk about recruiting, and originally they hear that they think, oh wait, it's an MLM. It's not that way. MLM is when you make more, when you pitch more the opportunity than you do the product. No, Vivint is you're pitching the product. Almost 80-90% of your commissions come from personal production, which is different. So but we do have a concept of recruiting. If you want to grow in the company, you have to build a team, and the bigger your team, the more you make per deal on your team. Period.
Meaning okay, they go, John, JT did good, crushed it 2 years, sold 100 alarms second year. You need to go find your own people.
So nobody will ever in our industry. Nobody will ever say, hey, I W a manager. They just won't. What happens is you establish your team from scratch. And so if you want to grow, if you want to hit this status at Vivint, to really be a manager, you had to prove to everybody that you can sell at a high caliber. Managers are expected to do about 150 accounts or sell about $100,000 of commission in personal sales. Then from there, you start building your team, your squad. And you're you come back from the summer like, hey, look, I'm 22 just like you. I'm at BYU, but I'm not in the Hyundai, that's broken down. I'm in the BMW. If you want to be like me, hey, come work. I'll show you the ropes and we'll figure it out and we'll get you there too. It's very duplicatable. You can do what I do. And that's what it was for me. That's why I was so pissed at my neighbor or at myself, my first summer experiences, because I'm like, that guy's not better than me. In fact, that guy only did 1 year in the industry and left and moved on, and I stuck with it. And over time, I way surpassed what he did. I talked to him the other day, and he was even like, man, I still don't know, haven't even made as much as I did that first year, bouncing all these different companies. So it's just a different experience. I just believe in the compound effect, that I just get a little bit better every year. And then you look back, and you're like, holy cow, where'd that happen?
What do you, so at what, you talk about, hiding behind dumpsters and sleeping under bushes, not wanting to sell a job, but being scared to go sell a job your first year, right? Didn't want to work or whatever it was. When did you realize, at what point were you like, oh shit, yeah, man, I can do this? When did it change to where you knew, if I just go knock 50 doors a day till my knuckles bleed, I know I'm going to make X, I know I can accomplish X. At what year and what you did that happen?
So what actually happened is my first summer, after 3 months, so I did that 75 accounts. What ended up happening is I ended up getting meningitis during the summer. I was hospitalized for it. And, there was a week recovery. It was the first week of August. And I decided instead to just go home. And I kind of regretted that because once you quit, you're always a quitter. You know what I'm saying? So, and it bothered me. Even though I made great money, it always messed with me. And I'm like, any time you don't do something correctly the first time, you got to go back and do it correctly the second time. So when I decided to, it haunted you. And it went, like I said, every person, even these people, when they don't finish, it messes with them. They almost don't recover. I see them bounce job to job afterwards. It's you owe it to yourself to at least finish. So, so what ended up happening, I was with a different group. And then I was with a different group. I excelled. I got more experience to that. I started doing better. But what really hit me is I got an internship with BP Oil.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law was there, and I was going to go. I wanted to be an oil trader, and so it was my dream job, supposedly, and I go out, I have an internship that summer. The next summer I get a job offer, and I actually move out to Chicago, and I'm gonna okay, let's do this. And then about 3 weeks in, I'm like, this sucks. I'm making less than I was in the summer. It's haunting me. It's that's haunting me. And my mentor kept on me, and eventually he called me on the right day. I was getting on a bus to go to work, because that's what you do in Chicago, I guess, or a train or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was actually a bus.
Right.
And I get on the bus and my card's not working. Supposedly it was broken or something. And the bus driver's like telling me, well, just go to the back. Just go to the back of the bus. Like, you're fine. Like, I won't make you pay. Just go. And I'm not hearing him. And eventually he yells at me, like yells in my face. Like, I said, get back. And I'm like, whoa. And it was just, something rocked me. And then later that day I got mugged. Like, but I got my money back because somebody saw it, but I got mugged. And I'm like, dude, I was having a great life. And,
Yeah,
and then
right.
I think later that day, I was literally walking from the little grocery store. And in Chicago, you don't pull up into your driveway and get your groceries out. You're like walking, and it's cutting your arms, and you're just walking down the street, and it starts raining. I'm like, this is my dream. This is like, I had it so good. I made 150 grand that, whatever, like in 4 months, driving up into my driveway with my groceries. I'm like, I don't know. And my mentor called me just that day, and he's like, here's the deal. Like, I want you back. And I'm like, well, Poppy, like, he's like, no, I'll make you a man. Like, we'll build you 1,000 account team. Like, that's kind of like a gold standard. Like, without a doubt, I'll help you do it. I'm like, all right. So he recruited me back, and we did it. And we didn't just do 1,500 accounts. We did like 1,800 accounts, and we built it. And maybe it was closing that door of, I think that's my dream. This was just a stepping stone versus my career. I think that's the mistake a lot of people do, is they're like, I'm not going to do it forever. Even my brother and others who I talk to, like, I don't mean to call him out on this, but he's like, I don't want to do it forever. Well, I never wanted to do it forever, but if you're not viewing it as if you're going to do it forever, you're at a disadvantage, because you're not committing today what you should be to establish, like, a house not on a sandy foundation. You're going to build it with rocks. And that's one of
what's saying on the planet.
And that's one of the disadvantages that we have against, like, let's say, a China. Our country hires a president or whatever for 4 years. China makes decisions based on the next 100 years. And so they just keep, like, elevating. I think that's the difference from those who really exceed versus those who don't, is people are only thinking in this month, this week, this month, this year. And I'm thinking of the next 10, the next 20, all here. I've never had an intent in my head that I'm ever going to leave. And so that's giving me advantage. And actually, in my career, it's giving me advantage. I tell everybody, if you want to grow, just never leave. That's the secret. That's the secret in this industry. Just never leave. Because what ends up happening, a really good manager leaves. Oh, what do? They take his people and give them to you, or whatever. And, like, I've grown partly from my efforts, but partly from everybody's lack thereof. Just by being there and being consistent. And that's the difference. Managers need consistency.
Do you think so? I love that, dude, because I got a friend of mine right now who's working with us who can't make a decision, and he's it's like you're burning the candle at both ends. And I don't think work ethic is what that means. I don't think it means work. You work 18-hour days, but when you're in a pickle, when you're in the middle of two decisions, I've been there many times in my life, right? If I'm running solar, knocking doors, and then I've got a nighttime gig, and I know I can make at least this much money selling. I know I can, if I sell this many jobs, I can do this much. But I'm in a drought for 2 weeks, right? I hit like a drought. Like, I hit a 2-week drought. I'm not making any money, but I know, okay, well, if I go and do this nighttime gig, I make $500 a night, right? But then I'm not going to run it all the way on solar. I'm not going to, like, we talk about going for broke. I'm the same way. I go for broke. Every time I risk it all. I risk whatever I have to make it work. If I have these two things going at the same time, I'm burning the candle at both ends, I can't see the forest past the trees, like Lee says, right? And I think it's good that you said that. But when Jeff Mendez is your mentor, right? When you mention your mentor, what do you think Jeff Mendez instilled in you? Because I think leadership is a huge part of this, right? Like, definitely. And so, what do you think he instilled? What's something you think he instilled with you that you've never lost? That's really kept you pushing and moving.
Your people are your assets. I mean, that's the biggest one. So, like, here's what's interesting. So, like, I mean, it's different in the alarm game. So, like, in the alarm game, managers make an override off their guys' production, whatever. But, like, all these guys are like, oh, man, I want to get into the rental, like the real estate business, and I want to have rental properties. I'm like, cool. You're going to go drop, let's say on a $300,000 property, you're going to have to put 20% down, let's say 60%, 60 grand down. You're going to go cash flow like $300. And cool, that's great, $300. I'm happy for you. I can go hire one kid, and if he does 3 accounts on the month, I cash flow $300. So, like, my people are my assets. Like, and I have lots of rental properties bringing in cash flow for me because I've been instilling a skill in them and so on and so forth. So people, that's the difference. If like you don't view your people as assets, you won't change the oil, you'll blow an engine, and you'll just like be turning and burning. And that's not to say like you need to be like taking advantage of others, but like you gotta treat people,
Motivate them.
yeah. And honestly, most people also, I mean, people on the street get killed out of disrespect. Like, you disrespect me, I'm going to kill you. Versus like, you could do other things, but you looked at me wrong or you did this. And what often happens with your own people is sometimes they'll leave because, even for less money, because they didn't like how you made them feel or so on and so forth. And that it's different. You're not my chattel. I work for you. You don't work for me.
No doubt. So, yeah, I love that. So, you knock a couple years. Jeff recruits you back from Chicago. Where do you go from there? So you run a crew. You sell 18. They do 1,800 alarms that summer. Where do you go from there?
So then I did it again the next year. I did more the next year, and then 2015 hit, give or take, and Vivint came out with this Vivint Internet. And my specialty is the Wild West. Like, before companies fully figured out, like, so they've been known to send me in to like, hey, we want to see if this is sellable and we want to do it at a high level. Luckily, one of the markets they chose to go to was a market I controlled in El Paso, and I said I want to do both. And so I pioneered that. We sold, in just the month of January, we sold 1,250 accounts of just internet accounts, like our second, third month in. We dominated it, excelled. And then finally, that's about, I was doing that while I was in my senior year of college. So I was flying in every day, and I figured I did my own hacks. I was like, I calculated exactly what I needed to have the grade I needed. I went online and I chose my college professors, and I read all of their stuff, and I tried to find ones that didn't grade on attendance. They only had 3 tests, like the midterm. I like the teachers that grade on 2 tests, because I was like, how do I maximize my weight, not having to be at college, because I'm trying to run this full-time career while I'm doing this. So I backwards into it. I don't do this. So I find the teachers that grade on that. I didn't go to any class my senior year. I just went to the midterms and the final, and I also learned to touch myself. So I did my own hacks. I would read, let's say we had the midterm and it covered 8 chapters or 10 chapters or 15 chapters. I'd read half the textbook in 3 days and just count on it to be in my like front here. And I calculated with that one, to keep the GPA I needed for future things and stuff, I only need like C's. So I was like, how do I do this as efficiently as possible? Because my grades were so high, I only needed like a couple like C's. I ended up doing better than that, but I was like, oh, I could pull this off. So I was always just finding ways to just, how can I fit more in?
Yeah, so I'd love, we have like a little bit of time left, but I'd love to get into the Harvard talk. But I think something I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, since Lee's talked to me so much about your forward thinking, et cetera, and your ability to see where things can go, like you were just describing. I like how you refer to it as the Wild Wild West, right? That's a good way to refer to it. So why do you think, knowing what you know now, knowing where technology is, knowing where the world is with marketing and advertising, et cetera, why do you think door-to-door sales, door-to-door knocking, in-home sales is still one of the most, if not the most effective way to sell something?
So I was thinking about this, like as you were saying it, and a little bit on the drive over here. And you said, why is it so effective? I wouldn't say it's any more effective, actually, than the other ones. I would say the advantage of it is it's a better way as an individual salesperson to maximize commissions. What I mean by that is, if I'm a company, let's say I'm the owner of Vivint, I'm Todd Peterson, I really don't give a shit if an alarm is created through people calling our website, if people are calling on Google Ads, if our inside sales force is calling them, or if our door-to-door company selling them, or if they show up to a Best Buy and were to buy the product. Yeah. I don't give a shit.
Right.
What I do give a shit at is I budgeted X amount of dollars to go create a customer. And so what he does is, hey, our inside sales channel has the same amount of dollars to create a customer as our door-to-door channel has. Even yourself, let's say you do solar, you have 2 channels. I could pay $3 to $5 grand on Facebook marketing or whatever, or I could pay, $2 to $3 grand to a setter. I don't care how it comes, but I want the volume coming in. And so what's interesting with the sales cycle, we have a couple different steps. We have prospecting, okay? We have qualifying. We have the presentation, objections, and closing. If you view it like this, that there's only so many budgeted dollars. Let's say they're on an alarm. Let's say there's $700 to create an account. Well, if I go create this account door to door, I'm the prospector, qualifier, presenter, objection solver, and the closer. Therefore, I capture all $700. Make sense? Now, if I don't, because I'm embarrassed to be a door-to-door guy, I don't, or whatever, or I don't want to go knock doors, I could take $300 of that $700, do some Facebook ads or whatever. But Facebook's going to get paid for the prospecting. I could do an organic post. That's prospecting. Boom. I access their platform. If I want a more qualified lead, I'd say, no, I only want this ad to be shown in front of this guy that likes Nike, that likes this, that meets this age gap. I could have a more qualified. Now, that's going to cost me more. And so the more steps in the sales cycle you're unwilling to do, that you have to outsource for, means less creation cost that you're able to capture for yourself. And so if I'm a solo guy with no money, no budget, no whatever, I'm better off keeping the whole pie. But as I get bigger, like even me, I keep less and less and less of it as I go on, because but if I had nothing, this is why you hear of like Mark Cuban or all these, if they lost everything, what would they do? They'd go get a door-to-door job, is what they say. Why? Because the fastest way to go create a customer and capture all that value for yourself. As I get bigger and time's a commodity, I'll give up more to reach scale. And, Todd, the owner of Vivint, he doesn't have the time. He started door-to-door. He went door-to-door. He started there. But as he got bigger and bigger and bigger, he just says, here's the dollars. You guys go figure it out. And hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's more. It's a
good.
channel.
Yeah, no,
it's not the only channel.
It's coming at me.
Yeah,
dude,
sorry. I know that was deep.
It's good. I like it. No,
Yeah.
that's good shit. I appreciate it, man, because my best friend has a pretty successful roofing company, and for the longest time I wanted to start my own company, and I was doing audio production and wanted to do my own thing, and he just said to me one day, he's like, why don't you just go knock a door, dude? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you ain't gonna own shit until you go knock a door. If you can't convince someone at their door to buy something off you, it doesn't matter what it is. And then that's the Tony Robbins stick that people still don't seem to know anymore, is that Tony Robbins always said, if you want to go start your own company, you need to go knock doors for 2 years. Don't go to college. Don't go after college, but like go knock doors for 2 years.
Well, and that's the piece. Like most people will start a business and they don't know how to do it. So what do? They're like, I don't know how to do it. So they take out a loan, marketing dollars, and they pay, hey, Facebook, Google, whoever, figure it out for me. Well, that's a very expensive way to do it. Like the real entrepreneurs are able to operate with hardly any budget because they're willing to go just knock on doors. And then doors could be banks, doors could be businesses, doors could be your network, doors could be actual physical doors in a neighborhood. But you have to be willing to go talk to people, or else you're going to pay somebody a lot of money to do it.
I talked to Lee about this a couple times over the episodes we did about solar, and I think I'm really pushing this mentality of what the homeowner should expect from someone coming in the door. And we got a few minutes left, and I just want to know what you think a homeowner should expect. Just it doesn't have to be drawn out; it can be anything that comes to mind. Of what should a homeowner expect from a guy that comes to knock on the door and sell them something inside their house? It
just depends. So in all sales, it comes down to legitimacy. So I have some friends who have a bad experience with buying a car. I have some who've had an amazing experience buying a car. So it's not that the car industry sucks; it's that your experience sucked. And I'm a little worried because I know how we operate, and I know the integrity we operate with. But you could be with a really good company, but there could be really bad apple at that company. And so I do think that there needs to be some level of caution, just because there is a lot of opportunity for people to get gouged. and we don't. We just don't. So what our expectation should be, or a customer's expectation, where they know if they're getting a fair deal, if their electric bill, if their solar payment is cheaper or the same as their current electric bill, that's a good deal.
Yeah, right.
If it's more, it's not a good deal. That's the simplest thing. So your rate of thumb, and you can go off the salesman's numbers, or you can literally just take the last 12 months of your power bill, add them up, divide by 12, and if his monthly payment is not better than that, that's a good gauge that you should keep looking. If it is, then it's about like who. Other than that, no other company. Some companies might be $5 a month less or $10. That's where I would not stress. If they pass that sniff test of price, then you need to rely on, do I trust this individual? Does the company have a good reputation? How's the warranty? What's going to be my experience after I say yes? And I'm telling you, $5 a month, $10 a month savings is not worth 25 years of headache. And so making sure that the person you're doing with after that is more important than the $5 savings. Like you're not getting gouged if you're at that payment, is what I'm trying to say. And other intangibles matter more from there.
I'm stealing all that today. I got 3 appointments today. I'm going to use that. I'm literally just going to replay that for homeowners. All right, man, we're done here. I appreciate you making the time, dude.
Anytime.
I'm going to have you back on multiple times, so I just appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot,
anytime.
JT. All right,
Thank
bro.
you.